What's going on, Hoops Tribe? It's Coach C, Cassie Chantel. I'm here with Erin Ivey, one of the latest and greatest members of this women's basketball 365 team. Erin, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the show today. I'm excited about this topic. You are the official Liberty correspondent. I just want to give you the floor so you can tell the Hoops Tribe about who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. This has always been a dream of mine. I was always a girl with hoop dreams. I played basketball. It actually was one of the later sports that I started playing, but I was a natural at it. It carried me through the first couple of years of college until basically the sport outran me. I was a center and I am 5'10" on a good day. So that tells you everything you need to know. By the time I got to college, those girls at my position were like 6'5" and up. My hoop dreams died a little bit early on me, but I still, maintained my love for the sport. The WNBA came around towards my later years of high school. My family is based in New York, and so I was automatically drawn to the Liberty. I remember the inaugural year like it was yesterday. It was just like the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, okay, we finally have a professional team. So that pretty much got me to about the mid 2000s, and I started to drift off a little bit. I started to drift more towards college, still maintaining my love for the sport, but just focusing on a different sort of lane, if you will. But also the Liberty took a couple of turns. They went out to Westchester, New York. They were playing in a really small stadium. They were kind of inaccessible. They were sold by the Knicks, who is my MNBA team. So that was also like super, super heartbreaking. But fast forward to today, they're in quite possibly the greatest situation that you could ask for. Even though they're playing over at Barclays, they have the greatest GM in the game, Jonathan Kolb, and I couldn't have asked for more. So fast forward till about almost 2020, I'm back with the Liberty, more full time, more focused. Sabrina Ionescu gets drafted, and now here we are. So in my short stint of being back with the Liberty since 2020, we've already won a championship, and we're hoping to repeat. And that brings me to who I am today. I fill my time mostly with bar managing, bartending. So I'm using my hands. I'm also using my voice because when I'm working, the WNBA is on TV. Like I'm fighting people. I'm fighting people like, no, you can't have preseason NFL. No, you can't have
That's
ESPN.
important.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that so much. And then having New York as a home team is just so rich because New York is one of the inaugural teams for the WNBA. And then you're coming off being the reigning champ. So it has to feel good to be a Yankee. It has to feel good to be a New York Liberty at this point. So thank you so much for just sharing that story with us today. So the big question. The Aces just beat out the Liberty in a regular season match. Which team do you think can win in a 7 game series?
Okay, well, first I would have to ask you, I need you to set the table for me now. Like, are we talking about if the season ended today, or are we talking about as if the season ended naturally and whatnot?
That's valid. So let's talk about what it's going to look like at the end of the season because there's still a good amount of games left, about 12 or so. And what we've seen from the Aces, they've gone through adversity and now they're clicking on all cylinders. Everybody understands it. And now you have the Liberty, who somewhat look like I wouldn't go as far as saying that they're falling apart, but they're a couple of ticks down from where they were to start the season when they were out on that streak. So let's talk about what it's going to look like in the long term.
Okay. In the long term, I think on the outside looking in, it looks definitely like the Liberty are sputtering right now. But whenever there's a loss, I always try to look at the positives and what I'm seeing as far as like forecasting to the future. And each one of these recent games, if we're talking about forecasting, like I said, all have silver linings. They all have positives. And they all, to me, are pointing to a much brighter future. We may not be peaking like the Aces are right now, but I think we're still headed in that direction. And if we can peak at the end of the year, that would be the perfect time to do it. And basically, what I mean by that is we still have Sabrina Ionescu, and Sabrina Ionescu had put her name into the hat for an MVP for a little bit of time. Since her last 30-point game, she has taken a bit of a dive. I'm a little bit concerned about her numbers. She's fallen off a little bit. She might have a game where she's ranging from 10 to 15 points, couple of rebounds, assists, but those are great numbers for a lot of other guards, but they're not MVP caliber numbers. And so that's something that concerns me, and that's something I definitely hope can get fixed by the time the end of the season comes around.
So when you're talking about Sabrina Ionescu and this somewhat of a dip in numbers, where do you think that is stemming from? Because she has to be key in their next playoff situation because she's kind of getting a reputation for choking. Not necessarily. I don't know if people are saying she's choking, but I feel like word on the street is she might be choking a little bit. I don't know. So what do you think is the cause of Sabrina's dip right now?
Honestly, every shooter is going to have slumps. I think she's just in a slump. But if you recall back in the finals, we ended up finding out that she had a thumb injury. So I hope it's not something like that. But every shooter has slumps. I wouldn't say that she's choking, but Sabrina has that big game gene. So she can flip that on at any time. And I expect that we're going to see that big game Sab coming up forward. So I'm not worried about it.
Speaking of like polarizing figures for their teams, what is going to be the answer for Asia Wilson in a series? I think that Asia Wilson is coming in hot. The run that she's on right now might be rivaling the run she was on all last season. And the thing about it is it's not ordinary at all. Like we talk about players going on a run, but she's getting 30 plus point games with 20 something rebounds. Like it's insane. It's consistency on both ends of the court. Her intensity, they're feeding off of it. And then from her being that leader, she has players like Jewell Loyd coming off of the bench that can produce at any given moment. She might give you 10 or she might give you 32. You never know with Jewell Loyd. And then outside of Asia Wilson as one of their main go-tos, I would say the second options are going to be either Jackie Young or Chelsea Gray because they're neck and neck with scoring ability now, but also with facilitating the offense. At one point, I said that Jackie Young might end the season with more assists than Chelsea Gray. But as soon as I said that, then Chelsea Gray has like a 14 assist
13.
game. That's crazy. It's like when the Aces are doing well, they're doing amazing. It's unreal. It's like basketball heaven. And I don't know if any team can beat that in a 7 game series if they keep at this pace.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, like, I would have to flat out say that Asia Wilson is the GOAT. Like there's not going to be many answers for Asia. Asia is going to be Asia. If you want to look at the last Liberty versus Aces game, I will say that the Liberty have the depth to answer that question. They're going to wear her out. And again, if you look at the last game, she had what, 15, 16 points. Again, those are great numbers, but they're not Asia numbers. Okay. We're used to seeing, like you said, 25 plus. We're looking at 20 plus rebounds in some of these games. Like that's insane. Every time I turn around, she's breaking another record. She's setting another record, or like, and so that's going to be key for a series between the Aces and the Liberty. What I would say to combat that is, again, the depth. The Liberty have a defense that can defend from 1 to 5 and have the depth of about 10-ish players right now with injuries. The Aces, I think, are sitting at a depth of 7 or 8. And so in a 7 game series, that's gonna be key.
Depth is key, but I'll also say that we have a little depth. We might not have depth in numbers, but it's in strength because we got Kirsten Bell who can go for 19. Put her on the Asia Wilson wig real quick and let her let her do what she does. And Kirsten Bell can give us that versatility in that 4 spot. She can really stretch the floor. I think she's been really strong. Dana Evans is probably a 6th player of the year front runner. You really can't sleep on Aaliyah Nye who's a rookie, but she just works so hard and can come up with key defensive possessions, key tap outs on offensive rebounds. And then I can't forget that the offensive rebounds have completely changed what the Aces are able to do because recently Becky, she said that she was watching some NBA or some MNBA basketball and she decided to change up their emphasis on transitional defense and focus in on those offensive rebounds. And I think that that has really elevated this Aces team because now Asia can really hone in on getting me bounds. And I'm going to keep saying it like, and yes, it's Angel Reese's phrase, but Asia Wilson has more me bounds than anybody. So I think that schematically on the offense and defensive end, the Aces may have an edge because what I've seen them do is something that I haven't necessarily seen New York do, and that's make adjustments in real time. Coach Hammond has really changed in that regard because last year I think that we were just yelling at it from our couches like, yo, we got to get Kia Stokes out of that starting lineup. The addition of Nalissa Smith was a power move, probably one of the best moves since Tiffany Hayes. I think that she's really going to blossom with this Aces team. So when I'm looking at the offense, how well the ball can move, I don't know if you caught the Dallas matchup, the way that the ball went around the horn, I think it might have went back twice. And on the second time around, they found Jewell Loyd in the corner. How can a team stop that when the Aces are rolling? I just don't see New York really being able to compete. But I say that, and Stewie isn't 100% at this time. And at any given moment, Stewie can do Stewie things. So I hear you, but I'm rolling with the Aces on this.
Listen, I don't know what New York Liberty games you're watching, but New York is one of the most patient teams in the league. They're known for whipping that ball around the horn. So I think poise is missing in some of these games. They're rushing and they're hurrying, but like when the Liberty is right, they are right there with the Aces as far as being able to move the ball around and find the perfect shot. My question for you really is every single player on the Liberty can hit a three. What about the Aces? Because what that's going to do for the Liberty offense is open up that paint. And you know who's down there feasting is JJ. But JJ can also hit you from deep too. So how does that stretch the floor for the Aces defensively?
Now, if Becky is going with her smaller lineup, everybody on the court can hit a three. Don't sleep on Asia because she went 100% from three in the last game. Okay. She can hit it when they need. And
She
I
can't do
think
everything now. She
yeah,
can't do everything now.
hey, but when that 3 point starts to drop consistently, what are they going to do? Like, what are they? She's going to be great at everything. We didn't even talk about the rim protection. And I don't want to gloss over the fact you did mention that New York has been patient, but I will say the turnovers have plagued New York in a few games. And that's not just in post All-Star games. That was some of the things they were getting away with in the beginning of the season, but they were just a good enough team to make do. So I think that if the Aces go with KB, Asia, Dana can hit a three. Melissa Smith can hit a three. It might be a slow body roll, but she can hit it. You know what I'm saying? She just has to be wide open. Chelsea Gray is shooting from the logo if she needs to. Jackie Young shooting from the logo. And then we can't ignore the fact that Jackie is going to get to the line. So even if her three isn't falling, she's going to get 3 point plays because of how well she can use her body. So I think that what the Aces have shown even in the last couple of games, because honestly, they haven't shot great from the three. You made a great point because they're not shooting great from three, but they're able to compensate because they rack up more fouls than a little bit. You know, they're one of the highest grossing foul teams. You can call foul merchants, if you will. I'm not even going to deny it. So I say make room for the traditional 3 point play with the Aces.
And guess which team is number one? It's us. So I get it. I get it. I get it. I guess with that, you mentioned turnovers, and that's like really key here because, like you said, in the beginning of the season, we were able to kind of conceal that a little bit, whereas now it's like really wearing its ugly head. My argument to that would be look at the Liberty schedule right now. Now, each team has scheduling issues, and I'm not just saying it's just us, but I'm only focused on us. Our schedule after being home for almost all of July, which is also a problem, We are now like on the road back to back playing 4 or 5 games in 7 days. And since Emma Mieseman arrived on August 1st, I think we just had our first practice with her yesterday. Like
Wow.
that's mind boggling. So I think with more reps and we had like the highest number of different starting lineups in the league. So these players, they need time to gel, especially with the new addition of Emma Mieseman. Like I said, like without practice, they're learning in game. And so I think that is generating a lot of these turnovers. The passes are just a little bit too late. They're not being patient, as we talked about before. But all of these things, those silver linings that I was talking about earlier, these things are trending in the right direction.
I can hear that. So when we're looking at the rest of the season, the Aces don't have an easy road ahead of them in their final games. They have Atlanta, which is tomorrow. They have Phoenix again, Washington, which isn't a team to sleep on despite their ranking in the standings right now. Chicago, which isn't they're not an easy team to beat. You know, Chicago has their problems, but on any given night they can beat a team like the Minnesota Lynx. So let's not count Chicago out into being an upset type of team. Then they have Atlanta again, Minnesota again, which will be that'll be a good practice run because after that, they only have three more matchups. Two of them are against Chicago, and with the final one being against the Los Angeles Sparks, which is going to be another interesting team to watch. No team has it easy at this point in the season. It's going to be interesting, as you said, but when it's all said and done, I'm believing in the Aces right now. And it's funny for me to say this because at one point in the season, I was calling, yo, y'all gonna have to dismantle this team at the end of the season because I'm like, this isn't working. But they figured it out. The biggest thing was on the defensive end because we know that they all can score, but it gets disheartening when you're not getting any stops and it kind of trickles down from there. But they've gotten all of that out the way. It's in the past. Clear skies ahead. And we're on this 7 game winning streak, which is the longest active winning streak currently in the league. And the New York they got a lot of work to do, Erin. I don't know.
The work will be done. Our schedule, like you said, is not much easier here as well on out. We have a couple of the same teams. Thankfully, after tomorrow, we'll be done with Minnesota. And perhaps we can focus on licking our chops at some of the other matchups. We do have Chicago, like you said, but again, nothing is easy. Like you said, the Aces are definitely clicking on all cylinders. I guess one of my final questions to you is this sustainable? And is this the same team that we're going to see at the end? Or do you expect to see a little bit of a drop off? As far as the Liberty are concerned, I don't think that we have seen the best Liberty team yet, not even that team that started off 9-0. And so I will die on that hill. That is where I stand, and that is what I see.
I think that that's a valid question for anyone to have because there's been highs and lows with this Aces team. Right now, I say that they're still just up for the Aces because even with them performing as well as they are right now, it's still not 100%. And that's the scary part. We've seen glimpses of what Jewell Loyd can do, but coming off of the bench, we can have the Gold Mamba have I'm just gonna give it to her. If we need Jewell Loyd to have a 40+ point game, she might can give that to us. A'ja Wilson is gonna be A'ja Wilson every single night. I don't think that there's ever really a moment where she's not giving all that she needs to for the sake of the game. We have Jackie Young, who's consistently learning balance, and I think every game is a new lesson for that because she's such a high level scorer. It's hard to balance. Okay, when should I take this shot? When should I kick the ball? I think that she's trending up. Sometimes I still catch her thinking maybe a little too much, but I think that it's getting better every single game. Chelsea Gray has finally started to hit that stride where she's just in that point guard mode because at the beginning of the season, she just wanted to shoot. It was like she's being a shooting guard. I don't think she's a point guard at this point, and then she's been playing down low as well. So Chelsea has been in this transitional phase where she's becoming a new player entirely. And I like that. Honestly, you know, I was criticizing it a lot, but honestly, I like it a lot because I think that we should all be growing at whatever stage we are in our lives. And especially as players, the player who she was 8 years ago is not going to be who she is right now for a myriad of reasons. So I appreciate how Chelsea Gray is growing. And I'm just expecting everybody to continue to level up. When I talk to Coach Hammond in these post-game press conferences, I really enjoy seeing the light in her eyes and the what is it, the light bulb go off in real time with her thinking and processing and seeing some of the things that she talks about in the post-game press conference happen in the next game. So I think that she's still hitting her stride as a coach. Well, all of that to say, the Aces are still growing, and I'm excited to see what they pull off in the postseason.
I guess the last thing I think the Liberty have on the Aces is size and versatility, and the Aces just don't match up there. So that's going to be the last thing I say that's going to maintain the Liberty through a 7-game series and carry us through.
Well, I hear you. Now I want to hear who's tribe. What are your thoughts? Who do you think takes this 7-game series between the New York Liberty and the Aces if they make it to the finals? But right now, there's so many teams in contention. We don't know, but this is a healthy conversation. As always, folks, let's talk hoops.